want milk? You want your milk? Milk. There you go. Yeah. I know you're very, very cuddly right now, and that's okay. Good morning, everyone. Hello. How's everyone doing? Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Good morning. Holding the babies. Yeah, for reals. There's a... That's exciting, Susan. I can't wait to see it. I love seeing it. Okay. How's everyone doing? Is everyone doing anything interesting this weekend? I will be doing restock. Obviously, that is the entirety of my weekend. We'll be working on the restock. I have some kind of exciting stuff coming. I don't know if it'll be done in time for this restock, but, you know, good stuff coming soon. Something unusual that I haven't done before, but could be kind of cool. Could be kind of cool. They are 7.5 months old. Yeah, and very sleepy. Needs a nap. 7.5 months. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, you are. What did you do to your finger? Did you chew on it? Did you chew on your finger again? Yeah. You're doing a lash lift. Look at you, fancy lady. A lash lift. At your age, do you need a lash lift? You're so young. I wish my baby was that old again. Oh, how old is your baby? A year and a half. Oh, but that's fun too, because a year and a half they're talking and walking and all sorts of fun, you know what I mean? I love that age. It's a great age. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great age, huh? You'll be a year and a half before we know it. Heads up, FYI, Wholesale Supply plus 3 weeks out for shipments. Ugh. So brutal. They must be, like, really dealing with, all the new trade regulations. I wish it was old enough to come out already. Hey, Stephanie, it's going to be here before you know it. It's going to be here before you know it, you know? School on Monday. So excited for routine. Yes, routine is always good. I love routine also. Hey, hey, hey. No, no, no. No, 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 no. Sweetheart, you want milk? Milk? You want this milk? Here. I know you're tired. Look at mommy. Look at mommy. Look at mommy. Look at mommy. Here's the milk. Sweetheart. You don't want it? Sweetheart, what's wrong? Do you want this? Hey. Look at mommy. Sweetheart. You don't want anything? I don't think lavender haze will be the first to go, only because there is so much of it. I made a humongous batch. Otherwise, I would say yes, but it's a huge batch, huge batch. I think that Tern in the eggs will be the first to go, and if I have time to make Andarna eggs before the restock, those will go fast too. I don't know if I will have time to make Andarna's eggs before that, but if I don't, then she'll be in the next restock. Yes. Are you sure you don't want your milk? Yay, milkies! Milkies! You want me to look at the milk? Okay, okay. Alright, don't look at it then. If you don't want to look at it, don't look at it. She does. She needs more baking time. Just a little more, though. 2 more months. A month and 3 weeks. A month and 3 weeks, right? Wait, when is your induction? Because I know your due date is later, but when are you actually? Your grab bag finally left a like, what? How did it take so long? Oh, because the holiday maybe? Sweetheart, baby. It can't be all that bad. Hey, 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 hey. What's wrong, my angel? What's wrong? Sweetheart. What is it, precious? Why don't you want to... Here, look, it's a chewy. Look, it's a chewy. Look, look, look. A chewy, chewy, chewy. Look, look, look. Look at mommy. You can't see the chewy if you don't look at me, honey. Honey, look at mommy. Look. What's this? What's that? Milk? More milk? No. We don't want milk? Oh, okay, look, Mom has an idea. What about a cold chewy? Wow. Look, it's a chewy from the fridge. So nice. Yeah. No, you don't want the cold chewy? Okay. All right. Well, it is nice. It's a cold chewy. Baby. Baby. Shh, 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 shh. You can go to sleep. It's okay. Yes, you can. 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 There you go. There you go. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. 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 We're gonna move slowly, carefully over here. Here we go. Okay. Okay. Yes, you're 100% right. Mickey, she is definitely doing the I'm uncomfortable cry. That's really funny, Ray. As if I'm not the one making the only noise she can hear, right? Okay. Okay. She's definitely teething, but I think her tummy also might be just in need of some relief. But she's asleep now. 8:40 on the nose. Passed out. Okay. So, I'm going to get my glasses on and we're going to read because she's asleep and we're going to take advantage of it. Poor thing needed this, I tell you what. Okay. The way that I internally screamed at the computer rather than... I love that you guys act as if she can hear you. Maybe she can internally. I think just that she hasn't had a number 2 in 2 days. You know, normal baby stuff. Thank you, Nikki. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Okay. So let's reorganize ourselves so that I don't have to use my hand to cover her face. Yeah, but it's normal for breastfed babies. She just hates it personally, you know. It's just not her cup of tea, and I don't blame her, you know. Guys, I have to talk to you about this book. We're almost done. Look at this. Oh my gosh, I forgot to put the book in the thing. Sorry, I have to do this so that TikTok doesn't hate me. They've actually like let my videos be seen by people because I started doing this. So I know we hate it, but I have to do it. Okay, sorry. I know that it's like a pain in the butt that I do that now, but it's just because if I don't do it, they literally don't show my videos to anyone, even like the people who follow me, and it's so freaking obnoxious. And I'm like, why can't I just make videos and not sell stuff? Like, I don't want to sell anything. I don't care if you buy the book or not. I'm gonna read it to you regardless. Adding to the card to appease the gods. I appreciate that. You don't even have to buy it. Just like, let it be there. Okay, what if I put it right here? Yeah, like just get it out. Okay, so anyway, what I wanted to say was we are halfway through chapter 21, right? And we're almost done. Like, we're finishing this book this week, you guys, which is exciting and sad all at the same time. You know what I mean? I hope everyone, I mean, like, I don't care if you buy it from my link, but I hope everyone has the book in their life because it's a great book and it changes. Oops, oh shoot. Oh right, okay, we're at the seam break. It changes lives as far as I'm concerned. It's like in the Book of Mormon, hello, my name is Sasha, and I would like to tell you about the most amazing book. This book will change your life. Anyway, that's a crossover from our last book. Rereading it for bedtime now. Yeah, no, of course. I know you have it, Ray. I wasn't surprised at all. But let's continue. In case you don't remember from yesterday, this chapter was called The Mirror. And here we go. The wolves were starting to become impatient outside the castle. Many were pacing back and forth across the drawbridge, while others were lying across the entrance of the corridor, and one was sharpening his teeth with Goldilocks' sword. They had been waiting long enough for the evil queen, and they growled and grunted with restlessness. Suddenly, Malenclaw's ears perked up, and he looked to the horizon. The ground was vibrating, and something large was traveling their way. Wait a second, we already read this. Book of Mormon probably will come around to your town, but right now that's the only thing. Did I think I started at the wrong seam break. This is the correct seam break. Sorry about that. Here we go. Second verse, different than the first. Alex and Connor didn't know what was going on. All they could hear was the clanking of swords and the whimpering of wolves from outside of the great hall. The muffled announcements of the soldiers outside the castle. They felt the castle shaking and falling apart all around them. Cannonballs began bursting through the walls of the great hall. Big stone chunks of ceiling began to fall all around them, and they knew they had to get out of the castle as fast as possible. Your Majesty, Alex asked the evil queen, we have to get out of here. You can see that the castle is falling apart. The evil queen did not respond. All she could do was cry over the body of her former lover. Hey, so if we don't get out of here soon, we're gonna make Humpty Dumpty's accident look like a scrape on the knee, Connor said. The evil queen wasn't listening to them, though. She was so grief-stricken that she couldn't hear. She didn't even seem aware of what was going on in the castle. Evely, please, we need you to unite us. We need you to untie us, Alex pleaded. Just drop the stone and you won't feel all of this sadness. The doors into the great hall creaked open and Froggy ran into the hall. Red watched from the doorway, panicked by all of the destruction. Froggy, Connor yelled, untie us before we get crushed. I'm coming, children,
Froggy said, and he hopped across the room and quickly began untying them as fast as he could. It was difficult, though. The knots were tight. He untied Connor first, and then the two worked together to free Alex. "Please hurry," Red called from the doorway. "My castle's being remodeled, and honestly, I'd really like to see it before I die." Alex was finally free, and Connor and Froggy ran toward the door, but Alex went to the table and started putting all the wishing spell items back into her bag. "What are you doing?" Connor yelled. "What part of imploding castle don't you understand?" "I'm not leaving without these," Alex said. "We promised we would return them or destroy them, remember?" And the wishing spell was starting to wear off on the magic mirror. The glass was starting to grow back. A cannonball hit the wall closest to the mirrors, and the golden mirror was knocked over by a blast, shattered across the ground. The magic mirror started rocking, about to fall at any moment. "Evely!" Alex yelled. "Please, you have to come with us." But she was ignored. The magic mirror fell on top of the evil queen and Mira and shattered into 1,000 pieces on the ground. But the evil queen and Mira were nowhere to be found. The mirror had swallowed them just before it shattered. Alex ran over and started searching for any trace of the evil queen or Mira, but there was nothing to be found except for bits of broken glass. The only thing that Alex managed to find was the evil queen's heart of stone. Alex put the heart of stone in her bag, and she turned to run toward the door with her brother and Froggy, but something else caught her eye on the floor. It was her reflection in a piece of the golden mirror. It was so bright and colorful. She saw herself smiling, and there was something behind her, something moving like wings. "Come on, Alex," Connor yelled. "I don't want to be an only child." "Coming," Alex said, and she ignored the glass and joined her brother Froggy and Red in the doorway of the crumbling hall. They found Jack in the corridor outside the great hall, still holding on to his wounded arm. Porridge was impatiently waiting here too, not wanting to leave without her mistress. "Jack," Red said, trying to embrace him. "You came." "I didn't come for you," Jack said, and refused to let her touch him. "Where's Goldilocks?" Red put a hand on her chest and was short of breath. Pure heartbreak started to consume her like a delayed poison. He really was in love with Goldilocks. "Let me get everyone to safety and then I'll go back for her," Froggy said. "I'll go away." Ah! Jack began to speak, but he screamed when he tried to move his arm. "No, you won't," Froggy said. And one by one, Froggy took hold of Alex, Connor, Red, and Jack and leapt with them across the moat. Porridge took some convincing, but Jack coaxed her into hopping over the moat with them. They joined the soldiers, and many of them bowed upon seeing Queen Red Riding Hood. "Forgive my hair, gentlemen," Red said. "It's been a really rough day for me." "Where's the evil queen?" Sir Grant asked. "Oh, she's gone," Alex said softly. "Gone?" he asked. "Yes," Alex answered sadly. "Trust me, you won't have to worry about seeing her ever again." Sir Grant nodded. A huge weight had been lifted off his shoulders and the shoulders of his kingdom. "Where was Goldilocks when you last saw her?" Froggy asked Jack. "She was fighting that woman. I don't know where they went," Jack said. "There she is," Connor said, pointing upward, and everyone raised their heads to look. Near the very top of the castle, Goldilocks and the huntress were still dueling, now on the roof. No one could do or say anything. They all just watched the fight with their mouths wide open. Neither woman seemed to have the advantage over the other. It was going to be a fight to the finish. The castle was disintegrating around them, and they kept fighting, each determined to kill each other. Their fight had turned into a battle. They swung weapons toward each other more violently than ever. Part of the roof near where they stood caved in, and Goldilocks lost her balance. She dropped her sword while trying to regain her footing. The huntress saw this as an opportunity to strike, and she raised her dagger high above her head. It was aimed for Goldilocks, and there was nothing that she could do to defend herself. "No!" Jack yelled, and he ran over to a cannon and he lit it. He wrenched it toward the huntress's direction, and he fired. A cannonball soared toward the women and blasted away a section of the roof where the huntress was standing. She fell the entire height of the castle and into the moat, silently screaming the entire way. There was no way she could have survived this fall. Goldilocks found her balance and lovingly looked down at Jack. They shared a moment of blissful eye contact before disaster struck again. Dust rose as the castle began to collapse completely under Goldilocks. "Goldilocks!" Jack yelled. "I can't even watch this," Alex said, and buried her face in Connor's shoulder. It was hard to see through the dust. The sound was thunderous. Thousands upon thousands of stones were falling on top of one another. Many rolled over into the moat. The dust eventually cleared once the stones had settled. The castle was now just a massive pile of stone bricks, and Goldilocks was nowhere to be found. Goldilocks? Jack hollered, running along the edges of the moat trying to find any trace of her. The odds did not seem in her favor, and Froggy jumped across the moat and disappeared into the debris. Everything was silent. The twins thought Jack was going to have a heart attack while he was waiting. Every second that they didn't hear or see anything felt like an hour. Slowly but surely, two figures made their way through the wreckage. It was Froggy, and he was helping Goldilocks through the rubble. She was limping, but she was alive. The twins cheered, and Jack fell to his knees. They had never seen anyone so thankful in their entire lives. Froggy leapt over the moat with Goldilocks, and she and Jack collided into each other's arms. They shared a kiss so passionate that a few of the soldiers even blushed. This was love personified. Red Riding Hood could feel her entire body ache with heartbreak watching the scene. This may have been the only time that she hadn't gotten what she wanted, and Jack had always been what she wanted more than anything. Porridge happily pranced over to Goldilocks, who petted the horse's mane. "I'm all right, girl," Goldilocks said. "I'm just a little banged up." "Goldilocks," Sir Grant called out officially, "you are under arrest." "Wait, just 1 second. Hold on," Jack said, standing in the way of the guards, and he turned to Red and gave her a scornful look. "Do something," Jack said. And at first Red didn't know what to say. She had never really done anything official and queen-like. The Red Riding Hood Kingdom would like to pardon Goldilocks for all of the crimes that she's committed, Red said. It's a very long list." "That may be," Sir Grant said, "but you can't pardon all the crimes that she's committed in other kingdoms. She's going to spend the rest of her life in prison. Guards, please seize her."
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Chapter 22. Snow White's Secret. Uh-oh. Snow White's secret. Well, here we go. The entire party traveled back to the Northern Kingdom in silence. The pattering of the horses' hooves on the road was the only sound that the group made. The whole world seems to have sighed with relief now that the evil queen was gone. Goldilocks was given permission to ride Porridge back into the kingdom, but her hands and feet were wrapped in chains. An annoying expression was frozen on her face, and Jack faithfully walked beside her the entire trip with his hands on top of the manacles that were around hers. Red Riding Hood watched them from afar, looking away only when someone would notice her staring at the couple. She had never experienced so many emotions at once. She remained silent, still, praying that the hurt would go away. The twins were especially quiet during the journey. After everything that they'd witnessed, it was hard to find the words to express what they were thinking and feeling. Their thoughts were filled with the evil queen's story. They were haunted by the images of her holding the man whom she had loved her entire life before being consumed by the mirror. And while they were saddened by her tale, they were even more disappointed that the wishing spell was gone. They feared how long it would take them to discover a new way home. What obstacles and dangers would they have to endure as they found an alternative? What would they do in the meantime? Where would they live? "I'm so sorry, children," Froggy said as they went. "I feel, well, completely responsible. Had I just let you use the wishing spell instead of trying to persuade you to come with me, none of this would have happened." "It isn't your fault, Froggy," Alex said. "The wolves would have gotten to us sooner or later." "Actually, this whole thing is your fault," Connor said. "If you hadn't told us about the wishing spell, none of this would have happened in the first place. We would have never been chased by the wolves, kidnapped by trolls, or targeted by the evil queen." Froggy lowered his head. The guilt was heavy, and it weighed him down. Alex looked like she was about to punch Connor in the face. "But," Connor said with a big cheesy smile, "you did save our lives like 3 times, so I think that totally makes up for it." Froggy chuckled. "You're more than welcome to live with me," he said. "I'll help you find another way home. I do promise." The twins nodded and smiled at him. It was comforting knowing that they had a place to live, even if it was just a hole in the ground. They traveled for a day and a half before they reached Swan Lake and arrived at Snow White's palace. Red Riding Hood seemed intimidated by a palace so regal and large. "My castle is going to look just like this one when it's finished," she told everyone around her, but no one seemed interested. The soldiers immediately took hold of Goldilocks and escorted her to the dungeon. Wait a minute, you can't just throw her into captivity without a trial, Jack said. Oh, for her sake, I hope she never gets a trial, a soldier said. Go home, Jack, Goldilocks said. With good behavior, they should let me out in, I don't know, a few decades. Jack followed them anyway, protesting the entire time, even though he knew there was nothing that he could do. Come with me, Sir Grant said to the twins. We'll find the queen. The twins, Red and Froggy, followed the soldier into the palace. They went up the staircase to the third floor and down the hall to what must have been the real entrance to the storage chamber. Grant knocked on the door. Your Majesty, it's Sir Grant. Are you in there? He said.
Yes, please come in,
Snow White said from inside. And they all followed Sir Grant in. The room looked completely different. All the furniture had been uncovered. The paintings had been placed on the walls. It looked like an actual room again.
Oh, what are you two doing here?
Snow White asked. She was putting the portrait of the huntsman back on the wall. For the past couple of days she had been restoring the room by herself. Your Majesty, Sir Grant said, lowering his helmet, we found your stepmother hiding in the castle in the northern sleeping kingdom.
And?
Snow White asked, bracing herself for the news. Well, she's dead, Grant informed her. Snow White's face became paler, which the twins didn't think was possible. She sat down on the platform in the back of the room. She didn't cry, but anyone could tell that this was difficult news for her to process.
How did it happen?
Snow White asked. And Grant looked down at the twins. I wasn't there, he said, but they saw it happen. Well, she didn't die per se, Alex said, trying to put it more delicately. The castle was falling apart, and her mirror, well, it fell on top of her and swallowed her like a bug. Boom! And then she just disappeared, Connor said excitedly. It was crazy. There was seriously nothing left. Alex gave her brother a dirty look. Well, not necessarily, she said. Alex reached into her bag and pulled out the heart of stone, and Snow White gasped upon seeing it. Alex walked across the room and handed Snow White her stepmother's heart. This was left behind, Alex said, and I think that you should have it. Snow White's eyes looked down at the stone, and tears spilled out of them. Sir Grant,
Sir Grant, I would like to be alone with the children,
Snow White said.
Please arrange rooms for the others if they'd like to stay.
She nodded at Red and Froggy. Why, thank you, Your Majesty, Froggy said, and he bowed.
Oh, well, that's very nice of you, Red said. Maybe just, until my palace is done being rebuilt, I'm gonna put a room like this in it for sure.
Sir Grant ushered them out of the room before Red could finish. The twins were left alone then with Snow White. She was very quiet for the first few moments. All she could do was stare down at the stone.
I guess you didn't listen to my advice then,
Snow White said. Oh, yeah, we listened, Connor said. We just ignored it.
Do you know what this is?
Snow White asked them, holding up the heart of stone. Yeah, Alex told her. It's her heart. She told us about it and her life before she was, the evil queen. It's one heck of a story, too, Connor said. Did you know that guy in the magic mirror was actually her long-lost boyfriend?
Yes, I did,
Snow White said.
That's why I helped her escape.
Both of the twins gasped and shook their head in disbelief. They couldn't have heard her correctly. What? Alex said. You helped her escape? No way, Connor said. Said Snow White. She showed no remorse in her confession.
I sat in her cell for hours and listened to her story. It broke my heart. So, in a final attempt to please her, I arranged for her and her mirror to be taken up the river to the next kingdom so she could continue her work.
The twins couldn't believe it. They wanted to ask so many questions, but only grunts and light stutters came out of their mouth.
All these years, I wondered why she didn't love me, and then I finally understood it. It was because she couldn't,
Snow White said.
I thought a heart as broken as hers was punishment enough for the crimes she'd done against me. Did she ever free him then?
Oh, she did, Alex said, but unfortunately it was too late and he died in her arms. Snow White let out a distressed sigh.
I see,
she said. But they were together, Connor said, one last time. So what happens now? Alex asked. Do we clear her name? Do we tell the world the truth about her?
Oh, I'm afraid it's easier said than done, Snow White said. I think the best thing we can do now to honor her memory is to live every day with compassion and understanding that no one ever gave her.
The twins looked to each other and exchanged sad smiles. I think what I've learned from all of this is that villains are just people that are villainized by circumstance, Alex said, and Snow White nodded, sincerely looking down at the heart.
I agree,
Snow White said.
That's the tragic lesson that we can learn from the evil queen.
The dungeon was a miserable place, as Goldilocks was learning firsthand. Her cell was small and damp, and the smell was horrible, and the light was scarce. Occasionally, a rat would try to run into the cell, and Goldilocks would look down at it meanly and intimidate it into running the other way. "Don't even think about it," she said multiple times to the rodents. And it was just past midnight, and all was quiet in the dungeon. Goldilocks couldn't sleep her first night in captivity. She knew that this day had been bound to come, but as she sat on the hard floor, she couldn't help but feel cheated that it had come so soon. Suddenly, a pair of footsteps echoed through the dungeon as someone from the palace above made their way down the spiral staircase and past a row of cells. A young woman in a long hooded cloak made her way to Goldilocks' cell. "Ew, gross, yuck," the woman said after each step, and Goldilocks immediately recognized that prissy voice. "Hello," Red Riding Hood whispered awkwardly. "What are you doing down here?" Goldilocks asked. "Have you come to personally escort me to my execution?" "Please keep your voice down," Red said. "The guards don't know that I'm in here." "What do you want?" Goldilocks asked her. "I came to let you out," Red said. "What?" Goldilocks asked in complete shock. "Why?" "Because I've decided to make things right," Red said very haughtily. "All right, go ahead. Then let me out," Goldilocks said, almost daring her. She didn't get her hopes up. She knew there had to be a catch. "I will, but first I wrote you a letter," Red said, and pulled out a piece of parchment from inside her cloak. "You want me to read your letter first?" Goldilocks said, not even attempting to disguise the annoyance in her voice. "No, of course not. I know you probably can't even read," Red said sincerely, and Goldilocks raised her eyebrows. "You are so lucky that there are bars between us right now." "It was just a joke. Lighten up, Goldie. I've been working on this all night, and I thought it best if I came down here and I read it to you myself," Red said. "All right, I'm listening," Goldilocks said, and crossed her arms. Red cleared her throat. "Dear Goldilocks," Red began reading, "I'm sorry that I ruined your life. Wow, I feel a lot better already after saying that part. Okay, I'll continue. Looking back, I know that sending you that letter when we were kids wasn't the right thing to do. I never meant for you to be a forced fugitive. I thought that the bears would scratch you up or eat one of your arms at most. Is this letter supposed to make me not want to kill you?" Goldilocks asked. "Let me finish first," Red said. "I've loved Jack for just as long as you have, but he's chosen to love a less attractive, less intelligent, and less wealthy girl instead. He loves you and not me, and the hardest thing that I will ever have to do is realize that. I hope that by freeing you from the dungeon tonight, you can forgive me. Love, your friend, Her Majesty, the Great Queen, Red Riding Hood." Goldilocks had never been so annoyed in her entire life. "It took you all night to write that?" she asked. "Yeah, and I meant every word of it," Red said. "What do you say? Am I forgiven? Are we even now?" "Open the door first," Goldilocks said. She would have rather spent the rest of her life in the cell than spend another 5 minutes with Red Riding Hood. Red fussed with a pair of golden keys and eventually found the right one to unlock the cell door. Goldilocks stepped out of her cell and looked Red directly in the eye and slapped her hard across the face. "Ouch!" Red yelled. "There, now we're even," Goldilocks said. "I know I deserved that," Red said, holding her hand against the side of her face. "Now put this on before we get caught and we both end up behind bars." Red threw her cloak over Goldilocks, and the two women hurried out of the dungeon. They crept through the halls of the palace and made their way past the front lawn. They walked through a forest a little ways and came to an ugly duckling pond. Porridge was waiting for Goldilocks by the edge of the pond, and at first Goldilocks could not see, but behind the horse, impatiently waiting, was Jack. Goldilocks stopped dead in her tracks. "What are you doing here?" she asked him, although she realized she already knew the answer. "I did it, Jack. I told you I could do it," Red said with a big smile. "I'm coming with you," Jack said. "Jack, we've been through this. You can't come with me. Especially now. I'll be more wanted than ever before once they discover I'm missing," Goldilocks said. "Every day without you is ruined," Jack said. "I won't spend any more of my life wondering if the woman I love is dead or alive or in prison somewhere. I thought I lost you back at the castle, and I refuse to ever feel that way again. I'm coming with you, even if it means that I have to chase you on foot." Tears filled the eyes of both the women, but for different reasons. Both their hearts belonged to the same man. Red would have given everything she owned to hear him say that to her. "Are you really willing to spend every day running from the law for the rest of your life just to be with me?" Goldilocks asked him. "I would give up anything to spend every minute of every day with you," Jack said, and he hopped onto Porridge's back and he reached his hand down to help her up. Goldilocks' head was filled with reasons and excuses to not let him do this. She wanted to convince him to stay and live his life, but this time her heart wouldn't let her do it. She took Jack's hand and hopped up onto Porridge with him, and together they took the reins and charged into the night. By sunrise, they would be the most wanted fugitives in the world, but at last they were in each other's arms. "You're welcome," Red called out to them as they disappeared into the forest. "There's no need to thank me. I'll be fine. I'll be fine." Red fell to her knees and she sobbed. Tears poured down her face and her makeup ran with them. She'd never cried harder than this in her entire life. "That was a very noble thing for you to do," said a voice behind her, and she turned and saw Froggy leaning down by the pond, collecting flies in a large glass jar. "How much longer until this feeling goes away?" Red asked. "I'm afraid traces of that feeling may be with you for the rest of your life," Froggy said, "but it will get better with time." "I thought helping them escape would help the pain, but it only made it worse," Red said, and Froggy leaned down beside her. "It doesn't matter how greatly you've been hurt or how much you're hurting, it's what you do with the pain that counts," he said. "You can cry for years, and rightfully so, or you can choose to learn and grow from it. Take it from me, I spent years hiding in a hole, afraid to come out because of what people would think of me, but one day I decided to leave, and look, I ended up saving lives." Red dried her tears on his coat. He hadn't offered it, but he didn't mind. "You're really smart for a frog," Red said with a big smile. "Perhaps now with all my dreams crushed, I can devote all that empty headspace and energy to my kingdom. I mean, like, I am queen after all." "Sounds like a wonderful idea," Froggy said, and he offered his arm to her and helped the saddened queen to her feet, and they escorted each other back to the palace. "Hey, by the way, what's your name?" Red asked him. "I never learned it." He hesitated. Froggy. Just call me Froggy." This is the last chapter, you guys. This is it. This is the end. We're gonna finish this book today. Chapter 23. A Royal Invitation. This is the end. Alex and Connor were both given their own chambers in the palace. It had been the first time since their stay at the Shoe Inn that they had slept in a bed, and it was the first night since they arrived in the Land of Stories that they had gotten a full night's rest. Oh yeah, seriously, thank God he wrote more. They were so exhausted that they slept until mid-afternoon the next day. It was strange for them to sleep apart from each other. Alex and Connor had woken up every hour or so looking for each other and had to remind themselves that they were okay and safe. The palace's servants had taken their t-shirts and jeans to watch, and the twins were given clothes to wear in the meantime. Alex was given a beautiful scarlet dress with fur around the cuffs and neck. Connor, against his will, wore a button-up shirt and a collar with far too many ruffles for his taste, and a pair of bloomers. For the first time in 2 weeks, they were dressed like they actually belonged here. The entire palace was buzzing with the news of Goldilocks' escape and Jack's disappearance. The twins couldn't help but smile behind the backs of the frantic soldiers as they passed them in the halls. They knew that wherever Jack and Goldilocks were, they were together. Yeah, this is book 1 in the series. After the journey that you've had... Oh, sorry, I'm just kidding. I missed a sentence. The twins offered to go meet the fairy godmother with Froggy, but he wouldn't allow it just yet. After the journey that you've had, I insist that you stay a day or two and you catch your breath, Froggy said. And so they stayed for the next couple of days, and they ate every meal with the Queen, Snow White, and King Chandler in the massive dining hall. Snow White told the twins amazing stories as they ate about growing up in the palace, living with the dwarves, and different reactions she'd encountered when people thought that she had come back from the dead. Snow White invited the dwarves over for dinner one night, and the twins wondered why half of the table in the dining hall was lowered significantly than the rest, until the dwarfs marched in and took their places around it. Alex and Connor laughed and laughed until their stomachs hurt at all the stories they were told. Connor beat all seven of the dwarves and Froggy in a game of cards and took all their gold coins. It was the most fun that the twins had had since they'd arrived in the fairy tale world, but things came awkward once Connor asked King Chandler, "Why were you so interested in a dead girl, anyway?" The twins spent their days in the enormous palace library. Alex scanned through every book on the shelves, looking for anything that she could put on a path to find a new way home. It took her 3 days to go through all the books, but she found nothing. Connor watched her from the sofa every day while enjoying dessert after dessert from the kitchen. "I think it's time that we leave this place." Alex told Connor. You want to leave? Connor asked. Why? I mean, like, this place is great. I don't want to overstay our welcome, Alex said. We're not going to find a way home just sitting around this place, and Froggy said that he would help us look, so sooner or later, I mean, we got to start, and then the sooner that we'll get home. Besides, despite what she might say to us, we promised Froggy that we would let him take us to the fairy godmother. Maybe if she isn't too mad at us for breaking the glass slipper, she can give us a tip on how to get home? Yeah, I guess, Connor said, sorrowfully looking down at the cake that he was enjoying. His eyes suddenly lit up. You know, there is something that we haven't tried yet. What's that? Alex asked. He stood up and closed his eyes and began knocking his heels together. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home, Connor shouted, and he opened one eye and was disappointed to see that he was in the same place. Oh, I just thought I would give it a try. The next day, the twins packed up all their things and dressed in their own clothes. They tossed the saber from the deepest sea into the fireplace of Alex's room, destroying it just as they promised the seafoam spirit that they would. Connor is one of my favorite characters ever written in all of history. Like, I'm obsessed with him. He's so funny, you guys. And it only gets better as we go on. They had just arranged to leave with Froggy later that day when Sir Grant found them with some news. We've received a message for you, Sir Grant said, and curious, the twins quickly followed him into the dining hall where Snow White, Red Riding Hood, and Froggy stood around excitedly. The queens were each holding bright envelopes, and a messenger from another kingdom blew his horn upon seeing the twins and presented them with an identical envelope.
Cinderella had her baby, Snow White told the twins. It's a girl.
The twins eagerly opened the envelope, and it was white and addressed to Alex and Connor Wishington. A golden wax seal on the back was in the shape of a glass slipper, and the invitation said, His Highness, King Chance Charming, and Her Royal Majesty Queen Cinderella cordially invite you to the exclusive celebration of their birth of their child, the unnamed princess, at the palace tomorrow afternoon. Oh, how wonderful, Alex said. But wait, why are we invited? Beats me, Connor said. Maybe she needs babysitters.
I wasn't expecting to be invited either, Red said. Elected queens are usually left out of all the good stuff.
So you're usually left out then? Connor asked her, and Red turned the same shade as her coat and didn't answer. So are we going? Connor asked. Do you honestly think that I'm going to miss this? Alex asked. Besides, we should return the glass slipper, or all the pieces of the other one, to Cinderella. It's the right thing to do, don't you think? What about Froggy? Connor asked. Froggy made a gesture like he was calming a fire. Oh, no, don't worry about me, Froggy said. I wasn't personally invited, so I don't want to intrude. I've never cared too much for the Charming Kingdom anyway.
Nonsense, Red said. You'll come as my guest. I won't hear any more of it. She held her head high, and Froggy knew that he wasn't going to get out of this one. We'll go see the baby princess, and then we'll find the fairy godmother with Froggy afterwards, Alex decided. Hopefully she'll still turn you back into a human. You mean you're going to become human? Red asked with a hand over her chest. Oh, yes, Froggy said. Long story. Why didn't you say so? Red said. You have no idea how this changes how I feel about you, although I must say I'm very proud of myself for being so friendly to, whatever this is that you are right now. If Froggy had eyebrows, both of them would have been raised. Come with me right now, Red said, and linked his arm in hers. Let's plan our outfits for tomorrow. She led Froggy out of the room, and he looked back at the twins with his eyes saying, Help! But they were too busy holding in laughs to rescue him. By that afternoon, the carriages were loaded, and the journey to the Charming Kingdom began. Snow White and King Chandler rode in one carriage, the twins rode in another with Froggy and Red, and they were surrounded by a fleet of soldiers the entire way. Now this is the right way to travel, Connor said, and the twins kept pointing out a familiar land that they traveled across during their journey. It inspired them to tell Froggy and Red all about the adventures that they had had. The Frogman and the Queen were all ears. The frog croaked a couple of times during the twins' animated retellings, especially the parts about the trolls and the goblins. Given their audience, they felt the part about sneaking into Red's castle and being partially responsible for the fire should be left out. The twins kept stopping each other to say, We can never tell Mom about that part. We can never tell Mom about that part. And when they got to the most dangerous moments of their trip. The carriages traveled through the night and across Cinderella's palace
the following afternoon. Rose petals filled the air, and bells rang from afar across the entire kingdom, celebrating the birth of the future ruler. Froggy started acting very strange as soon as they arrived. He was shaky with nerves. The palace made him anxious for some reason. The group climbed up the never-ending steps to the front entrance and was escorted down the red-carpeted hall and into the ballroom. The ballroom was virtually empty and seemed much bigger when not filled with people dancing. Cinderella was sitting on her throne, cradling her newborn daughter. Sitting around her in a big circle in some chairs on the floor were Sleeping Beauty, Rapunzel, and members of the Fairy Council. Sleeping Beauty and Rapunzel's husbands also congratulated King Chase in the corner. "What are you going to name her?" Rapunzel asked. She was beautiful, with hair that matched the lock that Alex and Connor had collected for the wishing spell. She wore it up in the biggest bun the twins had ever seen, and it still ran down her back and trailed out behind her. "Honestly, I can't decide," Cinderella said. "You should name her after her Aunt Rapunzel," Rapunzel suggested, and everyone laughed. "I love you, Rapunzel, but I love my daughter way too much to ever do that to her," Cinderella said, and everyone laughed even harder at that. "Look who's here," Cinderella said as soon as she looked up and saw the group walking toward them. Everyone was happy to see Snow White and Chandler, but the room grew very tense when they saw Alex and Connor walking in behind them with a giant frog man. Everyone looked at them uncomfortably as if they were naked. "Are those the twins who stole the glass slipper?" King Chance said, stepping forward from the clump of kings. "No, we tried to tell you it wasn't us," Alex said, panicked and afraid that history would repeat itself and she and her brother would be chased by the guards again. "Everyone relax," Cinderella laughed. "No one stole anything, and I invited them here. My fairy godmother wants to have a word with them." "What does she want with them, dear?" King Chance asked his wife. "I'm really not sure," Cinderella said, and Alex and Connor exchanged looks of dread. This must be even more serious than a broken slipper. "We may have accidentally broken one of your shoes," Alex said, and Connor had never seen her look so ashamed. "Look, hey, it wasn't our fault," Connor said. "I mean, okay, wait, it was our fault, but it was a really complicated situation, and it never would have happened unless it absolutely had to happen, and..." "Oh, that's no trouble at all," Cinderella said. "I can't tell you how many times I've broken one of them myself. The fairy godmother always fixes them whenever she visits. That's probably all she wants. She'll be here soon." The twins sighed with such relief that they shrank a few inches. Connor patted his sister on the shoulder as he knew she had been stressing about this. If there was ever a group of people that she wanted to leave a good impression with, it was this one. Snow White, Red, Alex, and Connor joined the women huddled around the baby. King Chandler dragged Froggy over to where the men were in the corner and introduced him. Froggy awkwardly took their hands and shook them. He was the first frog man to ever be inside the palace.
"Just look at her,"
Snow White said, looking down at the baby princess.
"She's beautiful."
"She looks just like you, Cinderella," Red said. "I was a beautiful baby myself, so I should know." The princess was indeed beautiful. She was only a few days old, but she looked just like her mother, with auburn hair and bright eyes. "I'm so glad to see that the two of you are all right," Sleeping Beauty said to the twins. "Did everything work out for you?" she asked, winking at them, and the twins looked down at their feet. No, not so great, unfortunately." She reached into her bag and pulled out the spindle. "Thank you for letting us borrow this, though." "Oh, my pleasure," Sleeping Beauty said, and took the spindle from her. "And Connor, I have to thank you for your trick. What did you call it again? Oh yes, the rubber band trick. We've been trying it on a few citizens, and it does appear to be helping quite a bit." Connor was beaming. "I told you so," he said, which was a rare thing for him to say. "Snow White, I heard that they finally found your stepmother," Cinderella said. "Congratulations, that must be such a relief." The queens and fairies added their congratulations on the subject. However, Snow White didn't seem so happy about it. "Is everything all right, Snow White?" Sleeping Beauty asked.
"Oh, yes, of course,"
Snow said.
"It's very just bittersweet."
"Bittersweet?" Emeralda asked.
"It's a long story,"
Snow White said. "Wonderful! I love stories," Rapunzel said, and made herself more comfortable sitting on the floor. Snow White looked at the twins, and they smiled very supportively at her, encouraging her to tell the others everything that they already knew. Snow White told the queens and the fairies about her stepmother's past. She explained to them about the enchantress taking her away from her family and how her fiancé was cursed to be in the mirror, and about the heart of stone. She left out the part about helping her escape, however, because just as the twins had kept the details about Red Riding Hood's basket, Snow knew her audience. Many of the women looked as they were on the verge of tears. Some held hands over their mouths, others just shook their heads in disbelief. I really can't believe it, Rosette said. That is the saddest story I've ever heard, Coral said, petting the walking fish who rested peacefully in her lap. And even with the whole world hating her, she still never quit trying to free the man that she loved, Sleeping Beauty said. She never gave up hope, Skylene said, and Cinderella sat straight up in her throne. Hope! That's it. That's what I'm going to name the princess. Princess Hope Charming, the future queen. It's beautiful, King Chance said, and he kissed his newborn daughter on the forehead. Everyone awed and clapped their hands in approval. Then I believe it's time we christen Princess Hope with a few gifts, Esmeralda said and gestured to the fairies to get to their feet. One by one, the fairies each blessed the princess with a christening spell. They gave her gifts of wisdom, of health, of compassion and wealth, of pride and discipline, and lastly of beauty, although she already had plenty of that to spare. Would you like to hold her? Cinderella asked Alex. But me? Alex asked, pointing to herself. Oh, I would be so honored, yes. Cinderella gently placed her daughter into Alex's arms, and Alex wondered if the baby had any idea where or who it was. Did she know how special she already was just by being born? Did she know that she was the future queen of a kingdom in the land of stories? The baby yawned. Perhaps she did know and was exhausted just thinking about it. The doors of the ballroom opened, and the twins saw a familiar face coming toward them. It was Sir Lambton, and he had an enormous grin on his face. Your Majesty, the fairy godmother has arrived, Sir Lambton said. Oh, splendid, Lambton, Cinderella said. Would you let her know that we're in here? Certainly, Your Highness, Sir Lambton said, but before she joins you, she wants to have a word with the children. Alone. All of the heads in the room turned to Alex and Connor, who gulped in unison. She's waiting in the clock tower, Lambton said, and the twins slowly walked out of the ballroom with Lambton. He guided them through the palace to the staircase, up another staircase, and to the clock tower. It's great to see you two again, Lambton told the twins. The fairy godmother's been looking for you two for quite some time. This cannot be good, Connor said. Are we in trouble? Lambton didn't answer, though. The twins grew very worried by his silence, and Alex pulled out the map and the journal from her bag, along with a piece of the glass slipper. If she's upset about something, then we'll just, tell her the story ourselves from the very beginning, Alex said. We haven't done anything wrong here. Have we? No, of course not, Connor said. Our intentions were always very good with everything we did, right? The twins and Lambton ran out of stairs to climb and found a round door that led to the clock tower. Lambton knocked lightly on the door. Come in, said a voice from inside. Here we go, Alex said to Connor, fingers crossed. Lambton led the twins inside, and the clock tower was gigantic. The twins felt like they were inside of an enormous antique clock, as there were giant turning gears and mechanisms everywhere they looked. They could see the entire kingdom through the clock face, and a short woman was standing with her back to the door, looking out over the kingdom. She wore a long, hooded, light blue overcoat that sparkled like the night sky. I'll leave you all alone now, Lambton said, and he promptly shut the door behind him and left the twins alone with the fairy godmother. The twins cautiously tiptoed over to the woman. Excuse me, Connor said. Miss Fairy Godmother, you, wanted to see us? The fairy godmother then turned to face the children. She was a beautiful older woman with kind eyes and a radiant smile. Her hair was light brown and worn up in a gorgeous hairdo. And then the twins froze. Grandma? Alex gasped. I didn't realize there's actually one more chapter, but we can't stop now. Oops. Chapter 24, A Fairy's Tale. Uh-oh, are you awake? You don't want to stay asleep for one more chapter? I'm so glad you're all right, their grandmother said, and rushed over to the twins, and she gave them the biggest and longest hug they had ever received from her. Your mother and I have been so worried. The twins didn't hug her back. They couldn't. They could barely breathe. They were just surprised that they were even still standing because neither of them could feel their legs. How are you? Their grandmother asked. Are you hurt? Are you hungry? Do you need anything? Grandma? Alex asked again softly. Is it really you? Oh, it's me, sweetheart, she said. I'm really here. Wait, you're the fairy godmother? Connor asked, and she smiled at them. I am, she said with sadness in her voice. I'm so sorry. I never meant for you to find out this way. Their grandmother stopped speaking, and her gaze landed on the object Alex was holding. Good heavens, what are you doing with your father's old journal? She asked. And Alex and Connor felt like they had swallowed their own... No, you don't want to stop now. Alex and Connor felt like they had swallowed their own hearts. I'm sorry, wait, this is Dad's journal? It's been... What? Alex asked with big, bewildered eyes. Wait, sorry, we've been following Dad's journal this whole time? Connor asked. I think I'm gonna faint, Alex said, and their grandmother pulled out a long crystal wand from inside her overcoat. She waved it, and magically a sofa appeared in the clock tower. Oh, good burp. She took the twins by the hands and sat them down on the sofa and let them catch their breath. It took the twins by surprise, even though she was their fairy godmother. Alex and Connor weren't expecting their grandmother to be capable of such magic. Grandma took the journal from Alex and flipped through the pages, amazed that it had found its way to their possession. Where did you get this? She asked. It was given to us by our friend Froggy, Alex said. We've been following it ever since we got here. We've been hunting down all the items for the wishing spell, Connor said. The wishing spell? Their grandmother asked anxiously. Oh, no wonder it was impossible to find you. You and Dad are actually from here then? Alex asked. I wasn't making all that up in my head. And Dad actually wrote that journal? Connor asked, his mind still stuck on that subject. Yes, and yes, the grandmother said. It's all true. I gave this journal to him when he was a boy. I'm glad it was useful, though. The twins had gotten used to their heads spinning with questions, but now they were spinning out of control. They didn't know which question to ask first. So wait, Dad wanted the wishing spell so he could travel into our world? Connor asked. He wrote that he fell in love with a woman in our world, Alex said. Could it be your mother? Yes, grandmother said. And then Alex and Connor exchanged looks, seeing how the other was processing the information. Neither looked less shocked than the other. How long have you been the fairy godmother? Alex asked. Why didn't anyone ever tell us any of this? Connor asked. I know you probably have hundreds of questions, their grandmother said, but before you worry yourselves too much, let me explain. Yeah, please, Connor said, and their grandmother took a deep breath. She didn't know how or where to start. We always planned on telling you when you were older, she said. Your father was counting down the days until he could bring you here and show you around. Unfortunately, he never got the chance to. After he passed away, you two were going through so much already that your mother and I didn't want to overwhelm you, and so we held off. So Mom knows about this place? Alex asked. She's never been here, but she knows enough, their grandmother said. Your father and I, on the other hand, we were born and raised in this world. Before your father was born, when I was just a young fairy in training, I accidentally discovered your world. So your cabin in the woods, your blue car, all that stuff was just for show? Certainly not, Grandma said. I stay at the cabin during my travels, and I love that blue car. I wish people in this world knew about automobiles. So how did you end up in our world to begin with? No, it happened by total accident, she said. I had recently just finished a tour of the kingdoms, traveling to those who needed a helping hand, and I was anxious to do more. I waved my hand around, closed my eyes, and thought with all my heart, I wish to go to some place where people need me the most, thinking that I would end up in a small village in the northern kingdom. But when I opened my eyes, I knew I wasn't in the kingdoms anymore. I kept it all to myself for years before telling any of the other fairies about it. I met a group of children there who showed me around. I was fascinated by their world, but it was even more fascinating with the story. They were even more fascinated with stories about my world. They didn't know anything about magic or fairies before I came along. Their world was so consumed with war, famine, disease. That was all they knew. They would sit for hours and listen to my stories about the world that I came from. It seemed to take them away from all their troubles. I saw how the stories inspired them, how they gave them hope, how they gave them courage and strength, and how they learned lessons from them. It made children without families learn to love and trust a little more than they had before. It put sparkle back in the eyes of children who were ill and had had their childhoods taken from them. I decided from then on that I would do as much as I possibly could to make our stories and our history known. To date, I am the only one who has the gift to move between the worlds. I found it to be a great responsibility, so I recruited Mother Goose and a few other fairies to go with me into your world and spread these stories of ours. We found the children who needed them and told them needed to hear them the most, the ones who were down on their luck and needed a little magic, and the term fairy tale was born. Your world was moving so fast and growing so large we couldn't do it by ourselves anymore, so we asked people like the Brothers Grimm and Hans Christian Andersen to help us over the years. So there is a time difference, Alex said. Your world moves so much faster than ours, Grandma said. I visited once a week, and every time I returned it seemed like decades and decades had passed. That's why the stories have been in our world for so long, Connor said. Oh no, Alex exclaimed. Mom, does that mean that she's grown into an old woman in the time that we've been here? No, their grandmother said. You see, children, there was a time difference, but then something truly magical happened that changed all of that. What? Connor asked. Well, you two were born, Grandma said with a smile, and the twins looked at each other amazed. Why are we so special? Connor asked. Because sometimes magic has a mind of its own, she said, and Grandma looked down at her hands and at her wedding ring. Your grandfather loved your world and traveled with me wherever I went. He was the love of my life, but unfortunately he died shortly before your father was born. I raised your father here on my own, but I continued to visit the world from time to time, although it was painful because it did remind me of your grandfather. Your father was always an adventurous boy. From an early age, he was constantly running off and exploring different lands all throughout the kingdoms. He was very curious about the other worlds, and I promised to take him one day when I was an adult. So when he was an adult. Many years later, he came with us to a children's hospital to read stories to the sick children, and your mother had just started nursing there. I knew from the moment he laid eyes on her that his heart did not belong to himself anymore. Naturally, I forbid him from staying or ever coming back with the fairies and myself again. It was selfish of me, of course, but I was scared he would get lost in time differences between the worlds and would live the rest of his life without me. I couldn't lose my son after already losing your grandfather, but his love for your mother was too strong, and he found his own way back via the wishing spell. I had no choice but to give him my blessing and let him go. It was the hardest thing I'd ever had to do. However, as soon as you two were born, the most peculiar thing happened. Your world and this world started to move at similar speeds. It's the greatest magic I have ever seen in my life. Being your father's children meant that you have been a part of this world. It's always been inside you. You two are the first children born of two worlds. You're the bridge that connects them. The twins were so relieved to know that their mother would be the same age when they returned. You mean, Alex began to ask, but paused because it almost seemed too good to be true, that Connor and I are a part fairy? I suppose, if you want to put it that way, she said. And Alex placed both of her hands over her heart, and tears came to her eyes. Connor rolled his eyes and he sighed. That is so wonderful, Alex said. Oh, great, Connor said sarcastically. The guys at school can seriously never hear about this. How else did you think you set off my storybook? Grandma said. And Alex sat straight up in her seat, and she remembered the night in bed when she was holding the land of stories and wishing with all her heart to travel inside it. The first night she discovered that it wasn't just an average book. You mean I did that? She asked. I made the land of stories bring us here? Yes, Grandma said with a proud smile filling her face. Alex couldn't believe it. She was magic. She had made this happen. It all makes so much sense now, Alex said. In the castle, the evil queen was hiding, and my tears activated the wishing spell, and I saw my reflection in one of her magic mirrors, and I had wings. I thought I was just seeing things. The evil queen? Their grandma asked. It sounds like you two have had more of an adventure than I thought. You can say that again, Connor added. I look forward to hearing all about it, their grandmother said. Your mother's been worried sick, though. She had to give your school every excuse known to man as to why you two have been gone. I think it's time that you two go home. Home. She was going to take them home. Never had that word sounded so beautiful. Can you do that, Connor? Never had that word sounded so beautiful. Can you do that? Connor said. Oh, you'd be amazed at the things that your grandmother could do, she laughed. But her look faded as she sadly looked down at the journal that had belonged to her late son. Amazing, isn't it, that even in death your father managed to show you around this place, which had always been his dream. Alex and Connor had always thought that their father was amazing, but until now they never knew just how amazing he was. The twins and their grandmother left the clock tower and caught Sir Lambton leaning on the door, closely listening to their conversation. He escorted them back down the stairs to the ballroom. I knew your father, Lambton whispered into the twins' ears. We grew up together. I know that you must have been his children the first moment that I saw you. That's why I put the glass slipper in your bag. The twins couldn't even acknowledge it with a smile. Their minds were far too overloaded. They walked into the ballroom and everyone stood at the sight of the fairy godmother. Everyone, please have a seat. I've come to bless the baby princess with a gift, and then I'm going to take my grandchildren home, she said, and she put her arms around Alex and Connor. Grandchildren? Cinderella asked. Oh, I had no idea. Why, that practically makes us family, she said, smiling at the twins. Did you hear that, Alex? Connor said, leaning in close to his sister. Cinderella just said that we're practically family. I know, Alex peeped. I'm trying not to cry about it. The fairy godmother took the newborn princess into her arms, and the twins were excited to see their grandmother in action. She's beautiful, dear, she said to Cinderella. My gift to the princess will be bravery. She may need this in the years to come. And the fairy godmother kissed the newborn's cheeks. Her lips left sparkly marks on the infant's face, and it slowly faded away as the gift was absorbed. Before I go, I have one more gift to give, the fairy godmother said, and took out her long crystal wand. Will the gentleman known as Froggy please come to the front of the room? Froggy, who had been partially hiding behind the charming kings, cautiously met the fairy godmother in the middle of the room. Thank you so much for looking after my grandchildren, the twins' grandmother said. I will never be able to thank you enough, but for now, I would like to take away the curse that had been put on you. Froggy's mouth opened extra wide, and he kept looking back and forth between the twins and the fairy godmother. He started, but he couldn't finish, and the fairy godmother waved her wand, and the curse cast upon him blew away like dandelion seeds in the wind. Froggy wasn't Froggy anymore. He was a man. He was a very attractive man, too, with dark hair and eyes that illuminated the entire room. It was shocking for the twins to see anything else. Charlie? King Chance said. Is that you? The charming brothers all leaned in close to him, and they stared at him as if they were looking at a ghost. Hello, brother, Froggy said. It's been a long time. The charming's amazement eventually wore off and turned into a celebration. They ran over to their long-lost brother and vigorously embraced him. The room erupted with joy at the long-overdue reunion, and Red Riding Hood was blushing herself. She was looking at Prince Charlie in a completely new way. He wasn't the friendly frog who'd saved her from a collapsing castle anymore. He was husband material. We thought you were dead, Chandler said, rubbing his brother's head. We searched every kingdom for you, Chase said, patting him on the back. Now you know why you couldn't find me, Charlie said and shrugged. Hey, why didn't you tell us? Chance asked. Honestly, I was ashamed, Charlie said. I didn't know any better. I thought I had to hide. Please do forgive me. The twins couldn't believe it. Now they knew why he had been acting so strange when they'd arrived. So you're a prince? Alex asked with a gigantic smile on her face. You forgot to mention that part. My apologies, Charlie said. I could have sworn I mentioned it over some lily pad tea. And they actually laughed together. Charlie ran over to the twins and hugged them almost as tightly as his brothers had hugged him. Thank you, Charlie said. I could have, for inspiring me to come out of my hole in the ground. Thank you, Alex said. I'm still going to call you Froggy, Connor said. And the fairy godmother waved her crystal wand one last time, and a door appeared in the middle of the ballroom. She walked over to the twins and placed a hand on both of their shoulders. It's time, she said. The twins recognized the door immediately. It was the front door of their rental house. They had never been so happy to see it. A light was shining through it, and they knew that their mother was waiting for them on the other side. All the kings, queens, and fairies in the room looked at Alex and Connor sweetly, and although most of them had seen their predicaments with the twins, they were sad to see them go. Say goodbye, Grandma said to the twins. Connor couldn't wait any longer, and he ran straight to the door. Bye! Connor yelled at everyone without looking back at them, and he ran straight through the door and disappeared home at last. Alex looked up at her grandmother. Will we ever come back? She asked, hoping with all her heart for the answer she wanted to hear. Someday, her grandma said, and Alex took a step toward the men and women that she had grown up reading about her entire life. She could have sworn that she had had a dream just like this once. She'd been meaning to say something and decided that this might be her last chance to say it. I know that this might not make any sense, but thank you all for always being there for me, Alex said. You guys are the best friends I've ever had. They didn't quite understand what she meant, but they were all very touched by her words. Come along, dear, her grandma said and escorted her to the door, and Alex wiped away the tears that had been brought on by saying farewell. She couldn't help but smile as she walked through the door with her grandmother, though, because she knew in her heart this wasn't really goodbye. Well, there you go. There you go. I don't know, Sophie. I don't know. Yes, the next book in the series is second. The next book is called The Enchantress Returns. Dun dun dun. And this is what the cover looks like. Yes, no spoilers. Of course, no spoilers. Yes, we love Chris and his writing ability. So let's break it down for a second because she's still asleep. Yeah, she's passed out. So a couple of things that I want to tell you guys. The first thing I want to ask is, who guessed that Froggy was the missing prince? Because I have to tell you, the first time I read it, I for sure thought Froggy was, that I thought that their dad was the missing prince. Yeah, we're recapping. Yeah, I believed in my heart the first time I read it, I thought that their dad was the missing prince because like he was gone, you know? So there's that. I did not put together that Grandma was the fairy godmother the first time. There was a short period of time where I thought Froggy was their dad, like early on, but then it didn't make any sense because like, why would he lie so much to them? That didn't make a lot of sense. I also thought that Cinderella put the glass slipper in their bag, not Sir Lambton originally. I thought that that was Cinderella's doing because she just like wanted to be nice. You knew that the journal was their dad's. Yeah, I did not put that together either. Although it did make sense like once you got halfway through it. Who thought that Alex was going to be a fairy? I did not. It caused me to gasp even the second time we read it. Crazy. Crazy. Okay, so this is not a spoiler, but I am going to tell you something about the books to come, okay? They get better. As if that's even mentally possible to comprehend. Like, this book was so good. I do too, but that's true. That's true, Jen. That's a different situation. This book is so good, right? Like, it just warms your heart. They get better. I know that that is hard to believe. You thought Grandma's magic sent them? Yeah. I don't know what I thought. I wish I'll have to go back and see how can they get better. I know. Staff, listen. You're preaching to the choir. I know. How can they possibly get better? But they did. They did. We'll start the next one tomorrow. It's very exciting. And wowie. Yeah, I'm so excited to dive back into this world. Well, Stranger Than Fiction isn't a part of this series, but it is a great book that he wrote. I'm partial to the prequels, having heard them all. Yes, but just wait, Jen, just wait. These will be nighttime stories for you in a few years. Yes, I fully plan to read this whole series to her at bedtime, starting when she's probably like 7, because I want her to really like get it, you know? Like I could read it to her when she's like 5, but I want her to like feel it. 7 or 8, you can really like feel it, you know? So I intend to do that as well, Steph. Definitely intend to do that. Yes. Okay, well, she's still asleep. So we'll have a slime restock for Land of Stories. And oh my gosh, we should restock some of the Land of Story slimes. Those were great slimes. Yeah, maybe the next restock can have some of those in it. 100%, Brittany, you absolutely should. Well, I will see you all later, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Don't forget, tomorrow is restock. So if you are a Patreon person and you want to get restock slimes, there is info about all of them already listed on Patreon. You can read it ahead, and they will go live tomorrow at, I believe, 4 p.m. Pacific time, but it says it in the post. I have to read to remember. But there you go. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.